Hey there Musos, Average Musician here. Overdriven bass can be fantastic in a mix, but often it can be hard to get right. So today I'm going to show you 4 ways to produce overdriven or distorted bass. Number 1, we're going to record a clean bass through your amp and or USB interface direct and use an amp simulator. Number 2, we're going to do the same as number 1, except that we're going to split the dry and wet channel up and have dual channels. Number 3, we're going to record with a bass overdrive pedal like this one. And 4, we're going to record with a bass overdrive pedal that has dual output, a wet and dry output, so dual channel recording. Alright, and thank you to George for letting me play with his toys. This is the track that I'll use for the entire video. It'll just be repeated, so you'll be able to hear a difference. So if I just play that whole thing through for you once with the clean bass, you'll get an idea of the bass line. See what I did there? That we're running from. Alright, let's go. Okay, so once you've got your clean bass, you want to go ahead and apply a bass, or an amp simulator I should say. Now I'm just using the default one in Cubase, which is pretty good. I just picked one of the presets. I can't remember which one it was. It was like, what was it? Classic Rock 2 or something, and then I played with it a bit. And basically all you have to do is keep playing with it until you're pretty happy with the sound. So you've got a drive, and then you've got bass, middle, and treble, and some presence and a volume. And you've also got a damping, which is very useful for a bass because it kind of cuts the harshness of the overdrive. So I'll show you what this sounds like. Alright, now I'll just pop on some other presets so that you can kind of hear what's going on. So let's Classic Rock 2, which is what I started with. You definitely need to edit it, and they've got some bass amp ones, but no real bass drive channels. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go back to my preset, which is preset onto bypass, and I quite liked it, but I thought that it wasn't emphasizing, oh, I must have missed that dampening. It wasn't emphasizing the drive enough, especially in the high end, and I didn't like, it was getting a bit sort of gainy when I was turning the treble up and the presence up in the program. So I used an EQ to emphasize the high end distortion and to give it a little bit of a bass boost in the bottom end. Could even go a little bit higher there. So I'll just show you what that's like, and I'll toggle it on and off. It's a pretty nice sound. So what we'll do is we'll just run through the track with it all on, and you get to hear what it sounds like with this method of getting a driven bass. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so in this method where we use dual channel, what I've done is essentially copy and pasted the initial bass track that we had, still using the clean track, and created a separate channel. So I've got a clean channel and a bass drive channel. So if we just play the clean channel, it's exactly the same as before. So when you're using bass overdrives, sometimes the overdrives will drop out some of the elements of the clean bass sound that you quite like. So what this does, it allows you to keep the clean elements of the bass whilst having an overdrive and to deal with them separately. But as I said, it can be quite difficult. So what I've done on this clean channel is I've EQ'd it to drop out the mids, to leave a bit of the highs, and to emphasize the bottom end. So if we listen to that, I'll toggle the EQ on and off. Oops, I don't want that one. So with the EQ, you can hear it's the mids are completely dropped out, and that's because I want the drive to take place in the mids, but not at the bass and not at the high end. Okay, so now on the bass drive channel, what I've got is the amp simulator, but I'm running it a little bit less powerful as the previous one because I'm going to have it louder. Okay, so that's why it's a little bit different. And I'm running an EQ. So in the EQ, you can see that I've cut the bottom end, and I have a sort of a peak around the mid-range, and then sort of tapering off towards the high end. So if I toggle these on and off on just the distorted bass, you'll hear how it sounds. And you can see it sounds very compressed, and you get very little bass, but that's because when I turn the clean sound on, it fills it out. So basically what you're doing is you're playing around with the EQs on both channels, because if you leave them the same, they'll just double. So that's what you have to watch out for. So you play around with the EQs to kind of get the distortion in the right place in the mix, and the bass in the right place, the clean bass in the right place in the mix. So I'll play you the whole track, and you can hear how this method sounds. And so once you've got the two channels sounding good together, what you do is you run a group track. So you go down here and you add a group track, and then you go to your mixer and you send the bass channels, bass clean here and bass drive here, and you send them to the bass channel. And that allows you to turn the bass channel up and down without having to screw with the levels on those individual channels. Okay. Next one. Okay, so the third way of getting a distorted bass sound is to record with a bass distortion or overdrive pedal. So this is a Boss Bass Overdrive ODB3. It's pretty simple. It has a level, an EQ, a balance, and a gain. So all you need to do is fiddle around with that until you get a sound that you like, and then record via your amp or USB interface direct into your PC. So this is the sound that you will get, and all I've got is a compressor on it, but that's alright, I have a compressor on all my basses. Now all I've done in addition to that is to EQ it a little bit, to emphasize the parts that I like and to de-emphasize the parts that I don't. And I'm left with this sound. Okay, so I'll just play the track with it all together, and you will hear how recording with bass overdrive sounds. Now it will be different for every different bass or bass overdrive that you have, so especially when I use the big muff in the next one, you'll hear that the bass sound you get is totally different to the Boss. Anyway, let's have a listen. Okay. The last way of recording bass is recording dual channel with a bass overdrive pedal. So what you do is you plug your bass in, Boo's been holding my bass cord, and you plug one output I should say, into the one input channel on your USB interface, and the other output into your other input channel on your USB interface. Now this is a bit harder to do on an amp. I can't do this on my Yamaha THR10 because it's only got one input. So I have to use my Tascam US200 audio interface. I get the sound that I want on the big muff, plug my bass in, play along until I get what I want to hear, and then I record 2 tracks in Cubase. So I'll just go and show you how you do that. To record 2 channels in Cubase, it's fairly simple. Basically all you do is you go left stereo in, this is the input, and down here I have stereo in right, and that's the 1 and 2 channel on my USB interface. So I've gone and recorded that, and once again, like method number 2, you have to kind of EQ them so that you're getting the drive where you want it in the mix and the clean where you want it in the mix. So I'll just show you what the clean sounds like on its own with just a compressor. So that's one bass, that's the clean bass channel, and I'll show you what the distorted bass sounds with just the compressor. Now you can tell that the sound is totally different to the Boss one, but that's the muff. I mean, that's the sound of the big muff. I don't really know how to use it that well, it's not mine. So I've done similar to the other one, except I put the emphasis in a slightly different point, given it a bit of a bass and a drop in the low mids, and then a little bit of a boost in the high mids. So we'll hear what that sounds like. That one. Yeah. So that's given it that kind of sound, which is quite a deep sound. I quite like it. And now with the bass overdrive channel, and you can hear my cat crying in the background, this is Leo. Bass overdrive channel, what I've done is similar to the method of number 2. I've dropped the bass, and it's kind of, the overdrive is happening sort of in the high mids to the highs, with a cutoff at the end. And I've also used the gain to sort of bring the volume up. So I'll show you what that sounds like. Toggle that on and off. You can kind of hear that what's happening there is I'm dropping the bass out of the channel. So that I'm getting the bass sound out of the clean and the distortion sound from the high mids up. So let's play those together on their own. Alright, so let's play the track all the way through, and we'll see how it sounds. Alright. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do today. Hopefully that's given you something to build from. If you do have any questions, just ask. I know I didn't show the entire process from recording it to mixing it. That's because it just would have taken too long, especially with the ones where there is 2 channels, number 2 and number 4, because they're a bit trickier to get right because you have to spend a lot of time EQing. Now for me personally, what I do is if I want a distorted bass, I will just use method 1, and if I'm not happy with it, I'll move on to method 2. Now that's because I'm not a bassist and I don't own any bass distortion pedals, right? So if I did, maybe I would use number 2 and 3. And I know when I have recorded with a bassist in the past, with George, who owns these bass pedals, we have done this method that we just looked at, where we have separated the clean and the bass channel out by using his bass big muff. I'm not sure that's what I would go for because I'm not a huge fan of the bass big muff sound, but it sounds pretty good. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks for watching.